Hello, my beer drinking friends, and welcome to another episode of Two Brew Tuesday. I'm your host, Andy, and today I've got a tale of two Belgian breweries. So as many of you may know, the Trappist monasteries have a very rich history in brewing beer. There are currently 11 Trappist breweries throughout the world, and actually in order to be considered authentic Trappist beer, the beer must be produced inside the walls of the monastery. The brewery can only be of secondary importance to the monastery. And finally, any profits from the brewing must be put back into the lives of the monks themselves or go on to charity. So the first beer that we're tasting today is an authentic Trappist beer. It is the Trappistes Rochefort and St. This brewery is located in the Rochefort Abbey. They've been making beer at this abbey since the 16th century, and this particular recipe goes back to 1955. So this is actually considered a Belgian dark strong ale. So this has a sort of deep amber brown color with slight ruby highlights. It had a pretty thick white head. It dissipated almost immediately though, but lots and lots of bubbles. It's got a lot of carbonation. So right up front, it's a lot of deep fruit character, some cherry, plum, raisin, a little bit of a caramel sweetness to it. No real hop aroma though. So again, this beer has a ton of complexity. It's all about the malt and the yeast. Those are the two things that are really driving all the flavor and the aroma in this beer. Again, it's got that deep fruit character to it. Cherry, plum, again the raisin, almost even a little bit of banana. Finish is pretty dry, even though it comes off a little bit sweet to start. It definitely cleans up in the end. It is a 9.2% ABV beer, so it's definitely packing a punch. It's a very drinkable beer for sure, though. Even being so strong, it's really quite nice. All right, so we're going to move on to our second beer, and that's going to be the St. Bernardus ABT 12. Now this beer is actually not a Trappist beer. The story of this beer goes back to 1945 when the St. Sixtus Monastery decided they did not want to make beer in their monastery anymore. So they ended up licensing their West Vleteren beer to the St. Bernard cheese factory, and they ended up sending their master brewer along with their proprietary yeast, and they made the beer there until 1992. At that point, the Order of Trappist monks decided that in order to call something Trappist beer, it had to be made inside the brewery. So now West Vleteren, which is probably almost consistently the #1 beer in the world and almost impossible to get outside of the monastery. If you want to find something that's almost identical to that beer, but not, the St. Bernardus still uses that same recipe and that same yeast strain. So it's a very close proximity. This beer is actually considered a Belgian quad. So again, we're dealing with a dark brown beer. This is a little bit darker than the Rochefort was. It's also got a little bit more of a creamy color to the head. Again, it's a bottled conditioned beer, so it's got a ton of bubbles. So this beer doesn't have that big fruity character. It's a little bit more about the dark caramel and the malt flavors. It's got a cracker aroma to it. Although the fruit flavors do start to come in through the flavor, I am getting the cherry type aromas, the plum, raisin. There's a medium bitterness to this beer. It's a little bit bigger than the first beer, so I think the extra bitterness actually does help to carry this beer through to the finish. And even at 10%, you would never know that when you're sipping this beer. So I think if you drink one of these whole bottles, you'll definitely feel it without knowing it. I mean, it's definitely a world-class beer, even if it may be a little bit easier to find than the Westvleteren 12. I recommend picking up a bottle of this stuff because it is truly world-class. So those are our 2 beers for 2 Brew Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our other content. Until next Tuesday, cheers guys!